live right now, so you can go get that water, get yourself refreshed, because we are starting the weekend off. We are starting prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage here on Sportswire Radio a little early for good reason. Because if you're a fan of BCW and you're a fan of the backyard, the underground, and the pro wrestling circuit, you have been wondering what is now going on between NJN and our guest. You watched the historic Scare Slam 3. Over 1,000 plus people have watched it. And we had no conclusion. We had no true winner. But our guest is going to tell us why he begs to differ. Our guest is also going to talk about what happened to Tsunami. And well, it looks like a tsunami hit Tsunami because originally Tsunami thought he should be the man to try to claim back that BCW championship from our guest. But NJN said, not so fast, my friends, to quote Lee Corso of college football. We'll talk about that. We'll even talk about, well, what's up with Caden Gallows and who is Caden Gallows now? And the only place I might be seeing him is, well, 6 feet under. We'll talk about all of that. We'll get you ready for BCW Pro 115 this Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also get you ready for the Christmas chaos and who knows whatever else. Our guest, some would say have called him the future of BYW. I don't call him the future of BYW. I call him the present, and I even call him the president of pro wrestling because we know in BCW, we call it pro wrestling. It is pro wrestling in BCW because we know it's real. And it's real here on Sportswire Radio because we are all Wrestling Matters. It is time now to give our guest that championship-like introduction, that victory-like introduction he should have got after that match everybody's still talking about, the 30-minute Iron Man match at Scare Slam 3. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get right to it. Let's start the night. Let's start the weekend off here in style on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station, and introduce our guest and our champion of BCW. So with further ado here on the Sports Report, number one sports show. The man that wins more in the state of Pennsylvania than even the 47th president-elect of the United States of America. He's the reigning, defending BCW Pro Champion. His name is simply put, the Master of Brutality. Maxel Reeves. The champ is here. Champ, how are we doing?
You know, not as great as the past couple times I've been on here, going to be honest. We've dealt with some adversity, some decisions I don't agree with in the company I wrestle for. But, overall, I can't complain. The title's still
intact.
You
are going to complain because you basically just said what we've all been talking about at Scare Slam 3, that finished there where we had no conclusive winner. You're going to tell us differently, and certainly what happened at BCW Pro 114, where obviously we saw what happened with Tsunami, and so you're going to probably do some complaining, actually. In some ways.
Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, yeah, a little bit of complaining, just a little bit, but still the BCW champion. That isn't changing for a while, as I continuously say. No matter what, I'm going to continue to hold my title. And we're going to get into exactly why I thought that this past Ironman match wasn't a draw and was in fact a victory for me. And also, I felt that at the end of the Ironman match, I thought it was. I already thought this was in the contract. I suppose not. I thought that we were going to get overtime. In the event of a draw, I didn't expect to have a draw. I thought I was going to win more decisively, but that just wasn't the reality of it.
Well, we're going to talk about that. There's a lot to get into there. Obviously, this was just a match that certainly lived up to the expectations. It was certainly a match that, again, took a lot out of you, no question. You definitely had NJN right where you want him. We'll definitely talk about that. There's a lot to get into here in the world of BCW. We have a huge show coming up here this Saturday, and BCW shows, you don't want to miss them, because if you blink, you'll miss them, so you'll definitely want to tune into that. But I think I'll start off here in current events before I go and put the tape on from Scare Slam 3 in the 30-minute Ironman match. And let's kick it off here. For those that are listening and watching here in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters, the platform that Maxel, Reeves, and BCW helped build here, Sportzwire Radio. Tsunami wanted a championship match with you, but we're not getting that. And I want to get your reactions on that, especially here, because we're going to have a big show coming up here Saturday night. And your reactions, champ, to the fact that Tsunami had a tsunami blown by him from none other than your arch enemy, NJN, which has put Tsunami now on the shelf.
Yeah, so both of the men involved this past Saturday, NJN and Tsunami, not a fan of either of them. Yeah, I mean, that's well documented. But when Tsunami called me out to the ring and he said that he believed he was the rightful #1 contender for the BCW title, I didn't know exactly how to react at first, because here's a man who, I'm sorry, look at the facts. He doesn't wrestle. He's not there as much as everybody else. He doesn't wrestle as much as everybody else. In the video he just put out, he claims that he wrestled 2 more matches than me in October. Sure. And that's only because NJN didn't want to be a part of the tag match. That's it. That's the only reason. Anyways, as I was saying, I believe that a man should earn a title match, especially if he's not around enough to warrant a title match without earning it. So I feel that he should have done his due diligence to earn the match, and I think it's awful. It's a travesty that he doesn't have the opportunity. Don't like the man, but Tsunami, I'm sorry that you don't have the opportunity to prove yourself. I guess we'll never know if you're going to be able to get to this title. I guess we'll never know if we're going to see Maxel, Reeves versus Tsunami again for the BCW championship. I just don't think that's a possibility now. I mean, Tsunami's probably going to be out for 3, 4, 5 months. I mean, he has that boot on. I don't think it's coming off anytime soon. But I think it's karma. Tsunami's recently.
I was going to ask you that. I was wondering as I'm listening to you talk, and Tsunami has obviously said some things, and he's obviously aired his grievances, and he shared his opinions on his Instagram page, and kind of in a way how he came across toward you, and he talked about what he did for the company versus what you've done for the company. And then right after that, we saw what NJN did to him. So was it karma, you think? Was it karma that came back and bit Tsunami?
Well, so Tsunami was definitely, I would say, the favorite in BCW overall. I mean, he still has a lot of traction with our audience and
absolutely
and relatability with them. But I think he was the premier. He was their guy. Everyone wanted to see him win because he was a moral man. He was virtuous. He never did the wrong thing. And I think once that changed, once he betrayed his good friend Tommy Good, I think a lot of the public sentiment started to change on him as well. But yeah, I feel like everything he's done over the past summer, I mean, I think it's been horrible, his actions. I think, I've not been perfect in my career. We know that I was on the top of the company in this tyrannical faction that was power hungry, and I'm very regretful of that. But the problem is Tsunami is he went the opposite way. Instead of bettering himself as a person, he worsened himself as a person, and that's not something I've done. I've tried to better myself every single day, every single week, to do the right thing, and he's not capable of that anymore. And for that, I can't feel too bad for him for what NJN did to him at the end of that
But
show.
You wouldn't have did the same thing.
No, I wouldn't have, because I believe that the BCW champion has a responsibility to honor the title that he has on his shoulder. I don't believe NJN did that during his reign, and I don't believe. And frankly, I think it's time to have a champion who will honor the title and honor the prestige and the responsibility that comes with it. And I think that man is me. And for that reason, I really do wish we got to see Maxel Reeves versus Tsunami. But like I said, I can't be giving handouts to every single person that comes through the door.
Okay, all right, fair. I'm going to play that footage in a minute. I want some of the chat to see that. I want to get some reactions. But let me ask you, though, this question on that. When it comes to Tsunami, you obviously, though, felt still at the same time that he wasn't warranting that match with you. But you also said, conversely, you would have gave, or the public, if they wanted that match, you would have gave it. So
yeah, why? There's a balance to be had there. So obviously, I think everybody wanted to see me versus Tsunami. Everybody wanted to see Tsunami challenge for the title. He hasn't challenged for it in some time because he challenged NJN for it multiple times, and in the clause of his final match for the title.
We spoke about that the first time you came here 2 months ago.
Yeah, he was unable to challenge for the title. So now that I'm BCW champion, the BCW title is at the top of his priorities now. But then I really have to question, is it at the top of his priorities? Because if it was, I think he wouldn't have gone away after Hardcore Heat and took a month off. That's what I'm saying. If he after Hardcore Heat, if he was an integral part of September to Remember, and he wrestled adamantly throughout that entire month, if he built up maybe even like one more win than he already has now, so he has that win against Tommy Good. If he had maybe one more win, I would say, you know what, we'll do the match, we'll do it immediately. And I asked him to find himself a contendership match in this past week's BCW episode. I felt it was important. I wanted, because what stinks is about my championship reign, we haven't had a contendership match for my title yet. And I think that
you've been deadlocked in this situation with NJN. That's your situation since you took the title from him. You wrested it from him 2.5 months ago. Basically, is that you have been still, you can't shake NJN, so you really haven't been able to focus on anyone else. But Tsunami made his claim, he made his case, but it's a moot point. We'll never know. It's almost like in Major League Baseball, famously in the 1994 season, there was a strike. There was a strike-shortened season, and everyone talks about what could have been. Would there have been somebody at the time to have hit 62 home runs at the time? Would the New York Yankees and the Montreal Expos, would they have played in the World Series? Would baseball be in Montreal? If you're a sports fan, it's the biggest what-if in history. And maybe in BCW and maybe in BYW right now, you could say we're going to look at what ifs, and maybe that what if would have been you and Tsunami for that championship that you hold, whether it would have been at the end of November or, as you even brought up, Christmas Chaos. We'll never know that outcome, but it's all a moot point because Tsunami's on the shelf, and it really doesn't matter because it's all over but the shouting.
So I've heard, we're going to get into it a little later on in this show, but Scare Slam. I genuinely believe I won that match. I had him down for the 3 count. He didn't kick out at the end of the match. The time expired, but he didn't kick out. I believe I adamantly won that match. Even if I didn't win that match, let's say it was a fair draw. I don't think it is, but let's say it is. Let's humor everybody. If it was a fair draw, even then, NJN should go back to the line. The only reason he got the Scare Slam match without earning contendership was because I was doing him the due diligence of giving him his title match for the reign he had. I respected the 818 days. And I said, you know what? You deserve a rematch. You deserve a chance to recapture this title. And he didn't. He failed. Either way, if you mark it down as a win for me, a draw for both of us, he didn't. He failed.
Well, I want to. That's an interesting point because you didn't lose. You didn't lose at Scare Slam 3. You didn't lose. And I know you wanted the victory. You wanted the clear, decisive victory. You're going to tell me why you actually did win, but the facts is that you didn't lose.
Right. You're right. I didn't lose, but I just don't feel satisfied with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like when your favorite NFL team ties a game. Are you happy about that? It feels like like a loss.
Well, I know you're going to hate me for saying this because you're in Pennsylvania, but a couple of years ago, the Pittsburgh Steelers made the playoffs because of a tie. I mean, not that it mattered. They got knocked out in the wild card the next week afterwards, but in the NFL, ties can matter, and maybe that you can look at it the same way. I don't know.
Right, you're right. They can matter, but at the same time, I don't think if any fan base walks away from watching their team tie with another team with too much confidence. I feel like.
Well, I think from the sports analogy, whether you're a hockey fan or a football fan, you want a clear winner. You want to see not a tie. You don't want to see a draw. I get that. I get that. But Tsunami, though, didn't deserve what NJN did to him. Even though Tsunami, what he did to Tommy Good, the way he's come across on social media, the way he's come across on BCW TV, he definitely didn't deserve what NJN did to him.
Well, I feel morally with the spot this man's at right now, there isn't anything I would put past him for what he deserves. But the thing is what NJN did was he fundamentally damaged the integrity of the championship scene in this company he removed Tsunami out of the championship scene in such a way where Tsunami never had the opportunity to earn an opportunity to earn.
We'll never know. It's a moot point. I agree with that. I agree.
We'll never know. And I hate that. I hate that we won't know. Because listen, me and Tsunami, we've put on several bangers in the past, and
yep.
I'm sure it would be the same result if we were to wrestle again. But this man, he has the ego. The ego on this man is absolutely insane. I mean, I cannot, in good conscience, just give him a championship match because of who he says he is. He says he's the founder of BCW. He's not. He says that he's BCW championship material. He's not. He says he's
talked about being integral to BCW's success and BCW's growth and the social media. I mean, you guys have reels with 9,000, 10,000, 8,000 plus views. YouTube, we're now closing in on 800 subscribers, and he feels responsible for all of that.
So to an extent, he's right. He is responsible for it. I can say here on the air, and I can assure you I'm being 1,000% serious. BCW doesn't happen if Tsunami doesn't exist. That's true. It doesn't. But it also doesn't happen if I don't exist. It also doesn't happen if Tommy Good doesn't exist or NJN or any of the
Well, NJN certainly did exist right there, and he came out there in an orange hoodie there. He definitely came out orange man, to quote different things in the world. Well, we're not going there, folks, but it was just a funny joke. But obviously, NJN.
It's just this. Now you see the draw. I mean, it seems like it had even a worse effect on him emotionally than it did me. I mean, it drove him even further to the brink of insanity. I mean,
well, wouldn't you feel the same way, Maxel? You are the master of brutality, but this man was champion for over 2 years, 800 plus days. I mean, wouldn't you feel that you would do the same thing because you feel that championship should be yours for decades? He probably felt that he would be champion for years upon years.
And you know what, Tom? He could have been if at Trampomania after his
maybe he thought he was the one that was going to break Bruno Sammartino's record. Maybe he thought he was going to be champion longer than Roman Reigns. Maybe he thought he was going to be champion longer than Hulk Hogan and Bob Backlund. I mean, maybe that's what went through his mind, and maybe he had a point.
Yeah, well, based on conversations I had with him back when I would consider him a close friend of mine, I can tell you that that's exactly what he wanted. That was his aspiration, and that's what he thought.
Well, obviously, I mean, the man was champion for that long, and who was going to stop him? I mean, and who would blame him?
I think it's very evident that one of the main reasons why he was champ for so long is because of me. It's because of my assistance in those matches. I helped him cheat a lot of the times. Like I said, I'm ashamed of it. But
I know we spoke about this here. You've been here a couple times already.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like NJN is a man. He's an entirely different specimen of a person. He doesn't have.
Oh, we know that. We know.
He doesn't have a moral compass. I'm somebody who I had a moral compass back even back when I was doing all these immoral acts. I had a moral compass. It's just back then I felt like it was suppressed by my desire to reach the top. And what I found was when I actually started behaving in accordance with my own values and my own morals, that is when I won this championship. And NJN, if he doesn't betray me at Trampomania, I think he's still your champion today. I think he's still your champion next year, and so on and so forth. But that's not the reality he chose. He made his decision, and now he's going to have to live with it. And what NJN should have done is he should have went to management and he said, Tsunami wants a match, I want a match. How about we have a contendership match? How about we put on a show for the BCW audience? We could have had that next week. We could have had that match next week if NJN didn't do what he did. And he made that decision because I honestly feels like he feels so threatened right now. And I think I don't know if he's necessary. I don't know if he thinks he's still like deep down at his core. I don't think he believes he's the BCW champion. I think he has to tell himself that, and he has to tell the world that in order to validate his emotions. NJN, when he attacked Tsunami, he fully damaged the integrity of the company.
Even though some would say, though, karma hit Tsunami.
Absolutely, it did. But when I saw NJN doing what he was doing, there's a reason why at the end of the attack, I ran out there and I stopped.
You did.
I'm not a Tsunami guy, but if I didn't run out there and stop that attack, who knows?
Tsunami mustn't. He might listen. he may never walk again. We know that what NJN did, I mean, you might be the master of brutality, but I mean, we're talking about this could have been permanent life damage. This could have been permanent damage to Tsunami and his ankle. This could have been damage where he may never walk again. What if Tsunami's going to have a family years from now? What if Tsunami wanted to do simple things and go out and maybe go out and walk to the park with his daughter or son? Or what if Tsunami just wanted to go out and do the everyday things we think about in this world? We do it with basically ease. Tsunami, if NJN would have continued that senseless attack on him, Tsunami's life would have been permanently changed forever.
You're absolutely right. Well, if he can't walk ever again, we'll get that. I think, in my opinion, that's a consequence of the karma he's earned by his actions over the past few months. And you know what? If he wants to do all those activities, if he wants to spend time with his future kids in the park, he can do that on a wheelchair. But
if you, well, I'll tell you what, if you didn't save him, I think it's a guarantee. I mean, obviously we don't know, but I think at the end of the day, if you didn't come out there and have that conscience, champ, that we would definitely be talking about Tsunami as a young man, his life permanently altered forever.
And I just want to make it clear, I didn't stop the attack because I felt that Tsunami didn't deserve it or that NJM wasn't necessarily in the wrong. Of course he's in the wrong. Like anybody who does that to somebody else is in the wrong. Sure. But considering who Tsunami was, I would have allowed it. But what I have a problem with is that he's trying to create this monopoly of contendership in BCW. He wants all of the contendership.
Well, he wants you out. He doesn't want you champion anymore. Obviously, clearly, that's his goal. He wants to wrest that championship off you. He feels in his mind. We talked about this last month on the show. In his mind, he's still the champion. I mean, to me, we talked about this, right? This is a bizarre situation. He lost, but yet still considers himself champion. So, he's going to take out everybody, including you, until he permanently reclaims what in his mind he never lost, and he'll be champion forever. He'll die with the championship if it's up to him.
I promise you, I am never going to allow that man to set his hands on my title ever again. It's not going to happen. That man will never be BCW champion again. He doesn't deserve it. He hasn't earned it. And when he's champion, in my opinion, he wasn't a good champion. He should have been a little bit more present than he was. And that's something that I try to encourage even when I was by his side.
And you talked to him about this, you're saying?
Yes, I did. I did. Now it's like he wants to show up all the time.
What was his reactions when you talk about that?
When I talked to him about maybe wrestling a little bit more, offering up his title opportunities, it's interesting because he would always say that the people didn't deserve the opportunity, which you might say you might call me a hypocrite for criticizing that because I said the same thing to Tsunami this past week. I think it's an entirely different climate of BCW than 2 years ago when he was beginning his reign, and even a year ago when he was still champion.
Right.
We're in an entirely different new era of competition, and I think it's time that with this unprecedented growth we've seen this year, that in order to capitalize on it, we need to have more wrestling matches. We need people to be more willing to be here. We need people who are committed to the cause. And
are you saying he wasn't committed to those things?
I think he's committed to himself. I don't think he cares about the furtherment of the company.
Well, he's a narcissist then.
He's a narcissist. He's a massive narcissist. I never heard the man say one bad thing about himself. He thinks in his mind, I think he's the king of the world. In his mind, he believes that everyone in this world is only here to serve him, and that everybody else needs to bow down and acknowledge him, if you will, as this superior being. But I can tell you right now, he's not. He's a mortal man. He's just like you. He's just like me. He's just like everyone else in this chat. He's not anybody who deserves any further degree of respect than anybody else. And I am just disgusted because, you see, what we should have had is Tsunami and JN, who both wanted an opportunity at this title.
Number one contenders match to decide who should face you, right?
We should see either that, or if there was other people in the mix, other people from anywhere else who wanted to come in the mix. I think they should.
How about Sin? I mean, who's the hardcore champion? You could throw Sin in there. You know?
Yeah. Christian Sin, the hardcore champion. I wrestled him at September to Remember.
Yep.
And I won the match. But I'm very, I don't want to admit it because there's a lot of bad blood, bad history, which I should say, between me and Sin. But I'm proud of what he did against Caden Gallows. Caden Gallows is a very intimidating man.
Oh, I know. I had him here. I was shocked he actually didn't have a mask on.
Yeah, I know. He showed up here. I mean, the things he was saying. I mean, the man's an absolute.
I mean, the man talked about he had no remorse. He wanted Sin dead, and we talked about actually finding the place to bury him. But yet, ironically enough,
I've seen enough questions about it, so I think I'll take the opportunity to address something.
Let's do that.
So, at Scare Slam 3 in the opening match, 3 stages of hell, the final stage of hell was a body bag match. And as we saw at the end of the match, Sin rolled Caden Gallows into the body bag and claimed the Hardcore Championship. Like I said, congratulations is in order to Sin. I try to figure out the state of Caden Gallows. I try to see if an update on him. I checked in with management, and what I found was no one in his family's heard from him. No one in his family. No one in his family's seen him. Nobody involved in his close personal life. They don't know where he is. They don't know what's going on. I mean, the last I heard, he was presumed dead. That was the last I heard.
Have you heard about any, let's say, funeral plans, like an obituary written up? Have you heard anything about maybe a service? I mean, obviously, I know this was a man that didn't have many friends. This was a man that his own family, I'm sure, definitely didn't think highly of him. But had you heard anything about potential Caden Gallows, maybe a ceremony or arrangements for him?
Well, I mean, truthfully, I think the only person who would have showed up to that was Sin, and he ruined that last month. So,
good point.
I mean, I think that if there was a ceremony for this horrible man,
and you wouldn't have showed up either, right? And paid your respects, right?
No, I wouldn't. You know, I would have. I would have 2 months ago when we were on good terms and we established that arrangement. And he gave me his respect after I beat him in that hitless match to advance towards NJN. He gave me his respect, and we were on very good terms. And in exchange for his respect and sportsmanship in that match, I gave his partner Sin a championship opportunity. And now, obviously, as you see, or at the beginning of September, remember, he interfered in my championship match. He attacked me. He completely destroyed the friendship that we had, as I talked about in the last time I was on here. And as you know, I would have gone to a funeral service of his, but now I don't think he deserves to be remembered. I really don't.
So then you're not going to remember the good times about Caden Gallows because of this man, the way he came across and the way he treated people. And, you know, Tommy Good, we talked about that and just how he senselessly, what he wanted Sin to do to him. Sin obviously had a heart, and Sin certainly, you know, showed that he was a guy that did have a conscience and that maybe really that this Caden Gallows fellow, you're not going to remember him, and we're not going to think much of him going forward then.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so either. Like I said, if the rumors are true, then if what I heard is true, the man is dead, and obviously he'll never be back in BCW.
I mean, if he's dead, you I mean, as far as I know, if you're dead, you can't come back. As far as I mean, unless I hear differently. Can somebody tell me? I mean, there's a guy who did it.
There was a guy who did it before, but that was 2,000 years ago. So, you know, we're not.
That's God, but I mean, Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue claimed he was famously dead after a heroin attack for like 5 minutes. I mean, but who really knows there? But, you know, as far as I know, if you're dead, you don't get a chance to come back. So if Caden Gallows is dead, I mean, that would just mean that he can't come back to BCW.
Yeah. So obviously during this match, I was in the back end ready for my match. I didn't have time to pay too much attention to what was going on. But by the time I came out of there, the body bag was gone. I don't know what happened. I don't know if staff removed it and took it to the morgue. I don't know if they took it to the hospital, tried to resuscitate. I don't know what happened.
Maybe they did a coroner report.
I didn't see a coroner report myself. Maybe those in management did. I asked to see one. I asked to see if we could validate the fact that he's dead, and they said that I didn't have permission to access those files. So
that's interesting. You didn't have access to.
No. I mean, I don't think I necessarily should have access to another person's death records if I'm not the family. So, you know, I'm fine with that. But
so you didn't consider him family, even though you guys shared a locker room together for a while for the past several months now.
We shared a locker room together for a while. But like I said, I mean, the man came in and immediately attacked me. When we came back from our hiatus in February, I was prepared to go on air and tell the world that BCW has signed new talent and that we were ready to undergo into a new era of BCW. And then I was going to introduce these two men. That's what we arranged back behind the scenes. That's what we arranged backstage. I said that I was going to come out there and I was going to announce them and introduce them. Right. And then we were going to set up some maybe contendership. We're going to set up some sort of arrangement to determine who's going to challenge NJN at the time, NJN for his title and me for my hardcore title at the time. Obviously, things are totally different now. I'm the BCW champion. But
so is BCW a better place without Caden Gallows?
It's interesting. I think it's a safer place. without Caden Gallows. I think
Well,
it's a more
okay.
sane place. I think it's a little bit more of a quality of a workplace without Caden Gallows. I don't know. I mean, Caden Gallows though. I mean, he put on some classic matches. He was
Physically imposing. I mean, a
yeah.
guy that his background certainly would lend credence to what he could do in the ring and why he was so successful. And
Mm-hmm.
we know the history with him and Sin. And,
Mm-hmm.
I guess ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, Caden Gallows certainly made a mark in BCW, but we don't want to remember him so much because of just how he treated those around him and what he really wanted to do to Sin anyway. So if he was dead, I mean, obviously he lived a life and
Mm-hmm.
obviously we'll certainly, I suppose, keep his family in our thoughts and prayers. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess,
I see a lot of similarities between the situation that happened earlier this year with me and NJ and Sid and Caden Gallows in the sense that just as I believe without that split between me and NJ, and I believe he's still BCW champion, I believe the same thing's true with Caden Gallows and Sin. I think if what happened at September to Remember where Caden Gallows, the match was over. I mean, he had the 3 hang gallows, he had his 3 finishing maneuvers, and that
it was not needed.
match.
Yeah.
It was decisive. He didn't need to do anything, but what he feels was, and I think part of this was his alliance with me. He feels that his faction, the Fallen, had become weakened over time, ever since they debuted. He believes.
Well, this was talked about in the promos between Caden Gallows and Sin, and Caden Gallows was here, and we spoke about this on Sportswire.
Mm-hmm. That's how he felt. But at Hardcore Heat, Sin was instrumental in Caden Gallows' title defense and that triple threat match. And then Caden Gallows attributed that to Sin, and he said, "You know what? You made me realize something this past Sunday." He said that you made me realize that we need to be more vicious, we need to be more brutal, more dominant, like how we were at the beginning of our company. And I don't think Caden Gallows got the right message from Sin at Hardcore Heat, because I don't think Sin wanted that. I think Sin was just trying to help his good friend, and then Caden Gallows completely took it to a whole new level.
Caden Gallows wanted blood. He was out for blood, and he marked everyone for death. But it seems like Caden Gallows is the one now that is dead, and we'll certainly have to see.
That's the continuing, reoccurring theme of karma and BCW. I mean,
you know what? Between what I've learned so far, before we get to the chat and talk about the 30-minute Iron Man match, which is really what we're here for tonight, is that karma seems like it hit Tsunami. Karma seems like it hit Caden Gallows, and that's really, to me, what I've learned tonight, is that those two individuals, the way they treated others, and certainly they got their just desserts. Whether I agree that Tsunami should be out for who knows how long and Caden Gallows should be dead, I don't know that answer. But what I do know is that it seems like karma hit these guys, and BCW might be a safer place or a better place. Who knows?
Well, you're right in that opinion that karma hit both Tsunami and both Caden Gallows, but there's one man who I think hasn't received enough karma, and
that's NJN.
And he's a man who I think deserves the most karma.
We're gonna get to him. We're gonna get to him.
Oh yeah, yes we are, and I'm sure I'm not done with the man.
I'm gonna get your opinions on that 30-minute Iron Man match. But before I do anything, I know there's some people here in the chat. I want to get to people. I got to make a couple of announcements. But this is Maxel Reeves on Instagram. So if you're Instagram right now and you want to go follow the Master of Brutality, go follow him. He's the longest reigning BCW hardcore champion in history. He says he's NJN's worst nightmare. We'll have to see about that, but he is the reigning defending BCW Pro World Champion. BCW has a huge show coming up. It's episode 115. It's coming up this Saturday, 6 o'clock Eastern time. I hope you follow BCW. BCW is also on YouTube. I want to put that BCW YouTube page up here. I want people to go follow our friends in BCW, because BCW is inching closer to 1,000 subs. We were here a couple of months ago. We were just over 500 subs. Now here we are at 750 plus. So make sure you support our friends in BCW. I want to get to some announcements here. I want to get to the chat, because I'm going to be live on Sportswire Radio in a little while. But let me get to the chat here first. We're going to put you on the big screen. Let's say hello to some people. So Zilla is in the house. Zilla's always here in the chats, and she says that she's got a crush on you. Obviously, you're a champion, very busy man. You obviously want to focus on championship defenses, and we'll leave that at that. Yeah. She acknowledges you and bows down to you and respects you. Very kind. And she supports you whether you're a heel or a babyface. I have no idea. I have a heel on the back of my foot, and I don't quite have a baby face because I haven't quite shaved this, and I have mutton chops, so I don't know anything about that. Thank you, Zilla, for tuning in. There is an individual. His name is Chase Wakefield. Now, I want to ask you about Chase Wakefield for a second. Here's the reason why. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, good sir. You live in the state of Pennsylvania. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Now, this guy, Chase Wakefield, apparently he wants to get married and have a wrestling super show. It's called the Chase Wakefield Wedding Invitational. Now, I know where BCW is. I don't exactly know yet where Mr. Wakefield's wedding is going to be held with this big wrestling super show, but he's having this wedding.
There's going to be a wedding. So let me get this straight. I haven't heard about this. This is really interesting to me. There's going to be a wedding during a wrestling show, a backyard wrestling show.
Yes.
What made events? What's more important, the wrestling or the wedding?
Well, he wants both. Now, this guy Wakefield, who was here yesterday on Sportswire, we were actually talking a little bit, I think, during it or before, I forget. And he's having this wrestling super show. He wants to be the biggest wrestling super show in history. And the reason I wanted to ask you, good sir, is you live in the state of Pennsylvania. You could maybe even walk or drive to this thing. And I was wondering, I think since you are the master of brutality, I think since you are, after all, the BCW champion, we know BCW's Instagram following, 9,000, 10,000 views on Reels. The shorts you guys put out there to get thousands of views. The popularity that you have, and say the likes of Sin and, well, before when he was alive, Caden Gallows, and certainly Tsunami on social media, that I would think that you would want to be invited to this, and I would even think maybe you even want to show up and wrestle, because after all, you are the master of brutality, and you are from the great state of Pennsylvania. So I would think that if Chase Wakefield wants to get married and have this wrestling super show, he's got to invite Maxel Reeves and everybody else.
I mean, come on, you can't have it. You can't have a wrestling super show. You can't call it a super show and not include the BCW champion. That's my take on that. And my take on the wedding part.
I could not agree with you more on that. Exactly. I think it's a brilliant idea.
And as far as the wedding goes, I love weddings. My cousin just got married a few weeks ago. I was at that wedding.
Wow.
Amazing time. We had a live band. We had great festivities. I love weddings. I love weddings.
So you know a thing or two about the wedding. So maybe you could show this guy Wakefield on what to do in a wedding. Maybe you could show him on how he should come across, and maybe.
I mean, I could get my ceremonial license, and I can marry him. And
I do have. I'm a reverend, actually.
Oh, you do? Wow. Have you ever married someone before?
No, I haven't, because I just haven't. I just haven't done it. I just, my mother got married like 5
You're too busy holding down the fort here.
Actually, my mother asked me, and I was like, nah. Oh. My mother got married 5.5 months ago, and I was like, not really.
Well, congratulations to your mother.
Oh, I'm sure she's tuned. Now she'll tune in and be like, we're never listening to Sportswire again. You just watched. She tuned in yesterday. But you should, but the bottom line is you should be invited to this, right?
I think so. I think you know what, if they want to invite me, if Chase wants to invite me, my DMs are.
Well, he's here in the chat, and I'm going to make sure that he invites you, because you are from the state of Pennsylvania, and I think that obviously BCW should definitely be represented. I know obviously Gallows is dead. I know you wouldn't want Tsunami there, but I think that you should definitely be there, and his wedding invitation. That's his Instagram page. He's slowly moving up in the followers, so give him a follow. So we'll thank Mr. Wakefield for that. We'll come back to him. Zilla would like to say hello to him. Speaking of people that are here, I want to give him a big shout out. My guest at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, same bat time, same bat channel, Mr. Jake Dvorak, the leader of GH. Jake is from NEW. He's done a number of different things, and Gabe Sayers isn't much a fan of him, and he would like to do to Gabe Sayers what, let's say, Sin just did to Caden Gallows. So Mr. Dvorak has got a lot to say. We're going to talk a lot about the future of NEW, his journey, and his own situation with his championship in his company. Very excited about that. Jake hasn't been here in a wrestling capacity in a while. He's been here before, but in a wrestling capacity, this is his first appearance in about 2 or so months.
Wow.
Hello there. Yeah, well, you've been here. That's why. I'm only kidding. But we're doing well. Jake is doing good. And Zilla did not like what NJN did. Zilla was not happy about
it. I think I don't know about uncalled for. I don't know if I'd use that specifically. I'd say he shouldn't have done it because it damaged the integrity of the competitive scene for this BCW title. Sure. I consider this to be very prestigious. I take my job as champion very seriously, and I think those who want to fight for it deserve to earn their opportunity to fight for it. And what he did. You know what? It was true. Zilla, you're right. For that reason, because it was involved with the BCW title, that was uncalled for.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Listen, everybody's got their reasons, and that's fine. Jake and Chase, I think, sort of know each other, and they're basically congratulating each other. Yes, Chase Jake is doing well. Chase is doing well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it. NJN is a coward and jealous of new people challenging for Maxel Reeves' championship. It's an interesting point by Zilla. Do you feel that he was jealous of Tsunami of all people?
Yes, I do, because because at the end of that promo, I gave him affirmation that he was able to earn his match, that I would have no problem giving him a title shot. And I said that we would discuss it and that we are going to see if we could get it together November, December, whenever. And I think, he heard that and he was infuriated. He expected, we tied. He expected that immediately he should walk out and challenge me again for the title. I don't think that's necessarily the case for multiple reasons. Like we're going to get into, I don't believe it was a tie.
We're going to get into that in a few minutes. We're going to talk about the match. We're going to get to the finish. Yep.
Yeah, I don't believe that NJN is no longer your number one contender. He earned it last month by the pedigree that he established as BCW champion, and he did a lot for this title. And for that, I gave him the match. This time, you're going to have to earn it just like everybody else. Back of the line. He needs to go to the back of the line. He needs to go, because I'm sure Tommy Good wants an opportunity at this title. I'm sure Tsunami wants an opportunity. I know he did.
Well, we know Sin. Maybe Sin would like it. What he did to Caden Gallows. I mean, we basically established that
we haven't seen a hardcore champion and a BCW champion fight since Caden Gallows fought NJN back at BCW 100. So I'm sure that'd be really interesting. And title for title match between me and Christian Sin. I'm sure that would be very entertaining for everyone to watch.
Hey, you know what? Those are always an interesting matches.
So we're gonna have to see where we're going. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Christian Sin is going to be making his statement on BCW not too far from now, maybe next week.
Certainly before the end of the month. Absolutely.
So if that rumor is true, if I hear he needs to come out, he needs to make his address. If he really wants to, Christian, if you're listening to this, feel free to stake your claim, because right now there's one thing that I'm sure of, and that's that I'm not giving NJN a championship match. He's going to have to fight for it this time. And he's going to have to fight for it with other people who want an opportunity for this. So this is a message to anybody out there who wants an opportunity for the BCW championship. Be cautious, be aware, watch your back. NJN might be coming for you. But if you want to challenge for my BCW championship, you might have to go through him, and that's okay, because that means that all we do there is we support the competitive nature of this championship by having contendership matches. That's what we need to have. NJN needs to be comfortable with wrestling.
Well, there should be a level. Yeah, I mean, I do agree there should be some level of establishing who is next in line for you. But again, NJN does feel that he didn't lose, and maybe that allows him the opportunity to play. But I don't know. I am reminded of whatever when you talked about messages, that I was reminded of the Police. So I'll send a message in about SOS. I'll send. It's an old song. We'll move on here. But what's old is new. Much appreciated, brother. I think they're congratulating each other. Yes, and I'll ask Mr. Dvorak his thoughts on Mr. Wakefield's wedding, like I do everybody else on Sportswire Radio. Zilla wants Tsunami to get well soon, and wishing him a speedy recovery. I don't know if you'll feel the same way, but we'll have to see.
If he wants to come back and earn a match for the title, go ahead. If he wants a speedy recovery, but like I said, when he does come back,
the only thing he can earn is doing Instagram lives these days.
Yeah, that's all he wants to do. That's all he can do is talk. Use his mouth.
Talk. And
I saw a rather funny comment on a recent video. I'm trying to think what it said. Oh yeah, it said that it was a comment on the post that said he was en route to the hospital, and someone responded. They said he better put tape over his mouth. I thought that was quite funny because he doesn't know how to shut up.
Well, you know what? That's I've heard those lines before, but obviously it is what it is. But obviously he did get a haircut in between, so we wish the haircut as much luck as he'll have recovering from an injury.
Yep.
Yes, we established Maxel is in Pennsylvania. We'll let Mr. Wakefield get us some more comments in a minute. And basically, Zilla's established that it's you, Tsunami, and Caden Gallows were our favorite wrestlers in BCW, but Caden Gallows doesn't exist. So two of the three.
And Tsunami's not existing for a little bit either. So I'm all you got right now.
So just stick to one. NJ is a coward and is jealous and is an insane, crazy psychopath. Reminds me of the movie Cape Fear with Robert De Niro. Basically, that's what NJ is doing. His own version of Robert De Niro.
I never heard that analogy before, but now that you say it, I think I can see that. Zilla's hitting the nail on the head here all night.
I think Zilla should just take over on Sportswire. She could just ask you all the questions. I think I'm ready to retire at this point.
Maybe she could be your co-host.
I think I should just give it to Zilla. I'm ready to retire. It's time to move on. It's time to move on and do other things. Engine is a coward and a jealous and disgusting human being on earth. Wow. Okay. I think we established she is not on team NJN. Ox McCoy is in the house, the IMF hardcore champion. Good afternoon, Sportswire. That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before. I may have to use that one. Thank you, Ox. And Ox gave me a logo in the past. Yes, hello to Ox. What I'm going to say is that the BCW hardcore champion, former champion, he's former because Sin's the current champion. So I just want to remind you. You can certainly say that he was the hardcore champion. But interesting comment here. There are no good things about Gallows. That dude was a villain, and he's got a seat next to the devil in hell. Wow.
I feel that way about Caden Gallows, and also feel that way about NJN and even Tsunami. So I feel that way about all those men.
They are going to burn in hell. Reminds me of a Judas Priest song, and Ripper Owens would sing, "It's time to burn in hell." That's basically what Alex Gallagher is saying. Thank you, Alex, for that. I'm going to not sing right now because I have Jake Dvorak on at 8:30. Speaking of people that are here tomorrow afternoon around 3 o'clock, Anthony Arias. Anthony is a part of Florida Backyard Wrestling, FBW, closing in on 1,000 subs. He is also the creator of the Backyard Wrestling Nexus. So Anthony is here. We are doing well. We have a lot to talk about with him in the world of FBW.
I have a great deal of respect for him and what those guys are doing down there in Florida. But
yes. Yeah, we hope everybody's safe down there in Florida. I was reading still that Tropicana Field down there that they weren't sure what they were going to do with the baseball team in 25 because of the roof there. So definitely hope everybody in Florida is doing well. One of my buddies, Daniel Slavin, is down, I think, near Tampa, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how far Anthony is from Tampa, but that's my buddy.
Tampa's a fun city out here. I've never been there myself, but I hear.
I haven't either. My brother lived in Florida for about 9 months before everybody moved to Florida, but he came back to New York. He should have stayed.
Before it was cool to live in Florida. Yeah.
He should have stayed. Speaking of people that are here, my biggest supporter is here, the legendary Luke Leyland, the man that fought in Dambe. He's the only person outside of Africa to have fought in Dambe, basically Africa's version of UFC. He also dabbled in the wrestling world in his own right. He was trained by the legendary Dean Olmark. He's a part of this major film festival out there in Nigeria. He is a living legend. He is one of the all-time greats. He is a man that garnered the most views of any interview I've ever done on YouTube. Facebook, I have a couple in the thousands, but this is a man that's a legend. He has been my biggest supporter, my biggest champion. If you're on Instagram, give the man a follow. He is the definition of positivity. He's the definition of just everything that's right in the world.
I'm going to give him a follow right now. Just
give him a follow. He's a good man, and he'll give you good advice. He knows a lot. He's been in the wrestling world. He's transitioned to doing a lot of great things in film and fighting, and he is just a man that certainly would give DDP a run for his money. So let's go and give some more comments here. I got a lot of people in here, so let me take that. That's Luke's page. So if you're here, give Luke a follow. He'd definitely be somebody you want to check out. So thank you for that. Let's also say hello to Anthony Arias and Luke Leyland. Yes, here we go. Anthony Arias says hello. Yes, everybody's saying hello. A lot of hellos right now because people aren't used to me being on this time, but I'm now doing double duty because I have a little bit of experience in the world of politics and political season's over. So now I'm doing double duty on Sportswire. So we'll move on from that. Well, everybody's doing good. Everybody's doing good. Everybody's good. That's good. Like the goods. Jake's here at 8:30. Yes, he is. A lot to talk about NEW. Florida is still recovering, and he's outside of Tampa. Oh, I'm glad you're safe and sound, and we'll definitely get into some of that. But obviously, we've got all that. Anthony is here tomorrow with 3. Dvorak is here at 8:30, so a lot of stuff ahead. But if you're on Sportswire Radio, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice figuratively and literally. We're all wrestling matters. We are here with the BCW champion, the master of brutality, Maxel Reeves. Maxel, I think it's time to get ready for the second half of the show, the meat and potatoes. As my dad would always say, growing up in Brooklyn, we're going to have the meat and potatoes now. It's the meat and potatoes we're going to have. We didn't get those too often. Now I could have pretty much a 7-course meal, but now let's talk about the meat and potatoes. Scare Slam 3. Maybe I'm not going to play the whole match, but I'm going to go maybe into the second half so we can build up into why you have a different take than the actual verdict of the match. So let's get to it here for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio here. And we're going to watch some of the match. We're having it put up here. So I'm going to go right here into the closer toward the middle of the match. I want to get your perspective on where we are right now. So we're watching it right now. And you've already been in a war with NJN and talk about just what you're going through here now that we're in the middle of the match.
So so this was one of the toughest matches of my career. I think it was definitely harder than even the first match with the Ironman stipulation, the no disqualification stipulation. There was just so many more variables you had to consider during that match.
Preparation's got to be a big thing too.
Yeah, I mean, mentally, I mean, it really got to me because I think it was like 5 minutes into the match, he won off a roll, or he won the first fall.
Ironically enough, I think 5 minutes into the match, he got the pin, and then as we'll see towards the end of it,
I couldn't believe it happened. I tried to kick out. He had my shoulders pinned down there. Props to him for that. That there was nothing wrong with that fall.
But 5 minutes in and 5 minutes left, he gets his 2 pins.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I guess he's most effective at the closer to the end of the match as I hit that bulldog there. I mean, I just try to put him down any means necessary. Try to throw him back into the ring, get the fall. But I mean, it's.
I was listening to this during the telecast, and it was in August. Obviously, it was warmer. Here, it's a little cool. Although, to be honest, in the Northeast, I'm sure it's similar to where you are right now. I mean, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt right now, so we really can't say it's like previous years. But was the weather a factor in terms of just maybe how you were kind of dealing with your own injury? We talked about your own injury in the past, but also everything with the weather there. Was it more of a factor than it was, let's say, a few months earlier?
Yeah. I absolutely would say. I think the biggest component of the weather and like in the way that it affected the match was definitely like the breathing and being able to keep and catch your breath in the weather, because when you breathe sharply and you're exerting a lot of energy and you're breathing hard, that cold air, when it stings your lungs, just burns your lungs.
Yeah, it just goes right into. I remember growing up playing sports out, in Brooklyn, where the weather would change. I never forget. In the summer, you could stand around outside and play for hours, but you go out there and around this time of year, and it'd be like that cold would hit you. That just give you that sock there. So for you, that was kind of hitting you a little differently than, let's say, in August against NJN.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we were both very labored in our breathing. We were struggling to breathe throughout the entire match. But I put my head down. I did what I had to do. Thankfully, it's not as cold as it's about to get over here.
It was 80 degrees. It was 80 degrees the other day. I mean, you can't. What we've had is nowhere near. It could be 40 degrees right now, to be honest, and it's not.
Yeah. Well,
but you got the lead here right now. How do you feel right now? You broke the tie. It's 2-1. We're in the second half of the match. I think we're somewhere around 12, 13 minutes left, something around that time range. I mean,
so around this point, I'm feeling confident, but I also know how quickly the trajectory of the match can shift. I know that I was not guaranteed to win the match after getting that last fall, and that's why immediately I kept on the assault. I had to keep pounding on. I tried to get more falls. I could not get another fall. Unfortunately, he did. But yeah, I'm at this point. I was pretty confident that I was gonna walk out of there with the championship. But I remained pretty confident for the entire show. The only time where it got a little precarious for me was when the first fall, the roll up pin. I was just in a state of shock. But then even after that, I knew that you just have to put your head down, like in anything in life. Anyone listening out there, if you go through any adversity, anything that's causing you stress or anxiety, the key to getting through it is you just put your head down, go to work, and you get through it, and then you get to the end. And that's exactly what I knew I had to do here. But unfortunately, when the end was a very unfavorable outcome for me. As this was the first time ever maneuver I did here, spin Alabama Slam. But yeah, I definitely think it was important for me to keep on the pressure, keep on the assault. But that played a factor into the labored breathing. I didn't get as much rest as I felt I should have.
Would you have done anything differently in this match?
I'm trying to think, retrospectively. I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, you could say.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20. They always say, but
yeah.
I mean, you did have the lead. You were in the lead. You were in the driver's seat. I know you're going to tell me that you won. We're going to get to that in about 10 minutes. But
maybe I shouldn't have been as aggressive. Maybe I should have went on defense here. Maybe I should have been a little bit more careful, and because I mean, as you're going to see in a few moments, one of these attacks he's going to counter, and then that flips the tide for what eventually leads to.
So you felt like that you were playing more on offense because you were looking to strike, and maybe you figured, you know what, if I can get the third pin on him, I'm up 3-1. Like, he's got no shot. So really, in retrospect,
If I would have got that third pin, it would have been decisive. It would have been impossible.
In retrospect, going on the football references, we're in football season right now. You should have played more for clock management, more to basically not give him those opportunities. You had the lead, and that would have basically, without a shadow of a doubt, put it where you would have won decisively. And here we are with 10 minutes left.
So when the second he flipped that, and he was able to hit me with the with that suplex there, and then I started to get a little nervous, but he hit me with that spear. I knew that I was still going to be able to kick out, and he knew that too. That's why he's picking me up here. But I knew that there's 10 minutes to remain. I heard the commentator say it, and I started to realize. But then, as you see here, it's me with the finishing maneuver, the F5. But this is not the one that put me down for the 3 count.
No, but let me ask you. You said something interesting, and I want to go back to that because you said you heard the clock, you heard the 10 minutes. So should you have not paid attention to the clock?
Maybe not. But then again, if I didn't, would I even have known to get him up for my finish at the end of the match? I mean, maybe I should. Maybe.
Well, I think let's say when you're like a minute left, 2 minutes left, that's a totally different dynamic. But like you just said just now, we're now 10 minutes left or less than that now, and you said you heard the clock, you were paying attention to. So my point was that.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I did focus a little bit too much on it, but I felt like in this match I had to. If I felt like whoever was a little bit more cognizant and aware of their surroundings in this, I feel like that was really going to shift the tide, because this is the first time ever match in BCW. We've never seen an Iron Man match ever.
Right. And you don't see them that. I mean, I've done a few of them here on this platform over the years. Nicholas Crenton did one with James Marshall. I mean, people do Iron Man matches from time to time. It's not a match you see often, but I guess what I'm gathering is that sometimes when you pay, like when I was in school, right, you'd pay attention to the clock. It means everything would drag. If you weren't paying attention to the clock, maybe you would have just wrestled the match you wanted to have wrestled, and it wouldn't have been an issue where you had a doubt or a level of putting yourself into a match that you had to decide it with seconds left to where you could have won the match, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. I don't know if it would have made a difference if had I not paid enough attention to the clock. I don't really know. I think what really I just kind of heard it like on the side. You don't really pay attention to much of what the commentators say during the match. You don't have time to. You have to focus on your
right.
But I heard 10 minutes remain, and then maybe that did affect it, because I kind of started to panic a little bit, and feel obviously I was still up 2-1 at this point, but
I mean, listen, I'd want to be you right now rather than NJN, because if I'm in the lead, and I'm in the lead 2/3 of the way right now, we're probably almost like 3/4 of the way of the match. So I would want to be you. I wouldn't want to be him at this point. You know what I'm saying? I would much rather be you, because you're the one in the lead. But let me ask you this question. Do you think if you would have wrestled another opponent, whether it have been, let's say, Caden Gallows if he was alive, or Tsunami, would you have wrestled differently with the lead?
Yeah, I think maybe I would have been a little bit more professional, because I feel like with the vendetta and like everything that's been developing between me and NJN since Tripomania, it's a deeply personal feud, and it continues to grow ever more so. So when you're in a match like that, in a dynamic where you have two guys who are so like interconnected personally, they we were a big part of each other's lives personally, professionally. And when you have that dynamic, I think it changes everything. So like if I were to wrestle Caden Gallows, who I have a little bit less of that personal connectivity to, then maybe I could have been a little bit more professional about it. Maybe, like I said, I think I should have been a little bit more defensive, focusing on, because like I said, when you constantly apply offense, there's always the chance that it comes with a counter. And,
well, you see this all the time in sports. Sometimes when you go on offense, that actually is a bad thing, because if you're in the lead, listen, it doesn't matter how many pins you get. You're in a match that's running out the clock. So really it's a matter of time management. At this point, if I'm up 1 right now, we're probably somewhere around 6 to 7 minutes left. And yet you're still going back at him as if like you're trying to go for another pin here. And you don't need another pin. You need really, it was just kind of stall the clock. Maybe put him in submission holds. Maybe put him. Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to say he claims that he kicked out. That's his claim. He claimed that he didn't lose the BCW title because he believes.
Yes, we spoke about that. Yes.
And so the reason why we came up with this, like I came up with the suggestion for the Iron Man match, was because I wanted to say I not only can I pin you once, I can pin you twice, I can pin you 3 times, so on and so forth. And I think that maybe it was just me wanting to prove a point, to prove that there was irrefutable evidence that I was better than NJN, and it got the best of me because I didn't need to do that.
And then there you go, they're clutching your foot, your leg.
The knee was a big issue. Fortunately, it's a lot better. It's in a lot better scenario than Tsunami. It's still pretty sore. So I'm going to have to like continue to rehab it, go to the gym, be a little careful, but definitely still hit legs. But do that before my next match.
But you're obviously laboring now a little bit now, and he's biding his time. And
I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate because he could have injured me just like he did Tsunami, and I would have had to relinquish this title I have on my shoulder. And that wouldn't, that would
be listen. We don't know. I don't know what the interview would be like tonight. I don't know what the situation would be. Right now, you're in a precarious moment, and he's obviously got you up for the F5, and I mean that's going to definitely leave a mark. And obviously, nothing you could do but the shouting, and that's where it's tied up. And that is where I go back and say that where you kind of had with your knee, he used that to his advantage, and now it's a tie with 5 minutes remaining. So,
well, you can accuse NJN of a lot of things, but you can never accuse him of being stupid.
Listen, he was champion for over 2 years, and this is where you're getting frustrated a little bit here right now.
Yeah, and well, at this point, we're both trying to throw everything we can, our entire arsenal.
Couldn't you say though, really, 2-2 is still really? If I were to say this, I know you're going to say different, but like theoretically speaking. I mean, for you, really, 2-1 is almost like a 2-pin lead because remember, he has to beat you to take the championship. So really, you shouldn't have been as upset.
I did have champion's advantage, and that's something I should have considered. I should have placed that. I should have placed that at my top priority instead of wanting to prove the point. You're absolutely correct in that.
Because really, I mean, 2-1 for you is really essentially 2-0 because remember, he has to beat you. He has to have more pinfalls than you to take that championship away. So really, you were getting flustered. You were certainly having a different tactical strategy that you didn't necessarily need.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. Like that's a very valid criticism. And that's something I'm going to have to take into account as I continue to learn and better myself as a professional wrestler. I get better every single match I have. And as you see here, I took way too long to hit the butterfly super.
1, 2, and you kicked out thankfully there.
Yeah, no, I at this point, I knew the stakes. And at this point, you can't obviously hear the audio, but he's screaming, stay down. And, and that only incited me even more to continue to go at him. But unfortunately, I couldn't get it done with the time we had remaining. I think there should have been an overtime. I really do. I don't know why there wasn't.
Why would you have wanted an overtime? Because really, again, you retained the championship with a draw. Why would you have wanted an overtime? Shouldn't the whole point be you've retained the title? I mean, if I retain the title, to me, I know we talked about this a little while ago about ties. You talked about the sports fans analogy, and I agree about that. But really, I'll go back and say it. The Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of years ago made the playoffs because of a tie. So really, for you, a tie is a victory. You retain the championship, yet you walk away and say, right now, I want more. I wanted 5 minutes.
There's a possibility, right, that in those 5 minutes he could have defeated me, which would be a different outcome than a draw.
Right.
There's always the possibility of that happening. But for me, the man completely disregarded.
And there's that knee again, and there's no guarantee with overtime that you would have won. Look at it there. Your knee, you wouldn't have. I don't know if you would have survived another 5 minutes. Look at your knee.
And that's a valid point, and I recognize that. But you have to understand, Tom, for the entire month, this man was going around disregarding my title when he
had his own championship.
Credit. So what I wanted to do is I wanted there to be no doubts. I wanted there to be a very clear, very distinct winner, and I wanted him to be able to not be able to deny this again. And that's exactly what I was chasing in this moment. But you're right. Maybe I shouldn't have cared as much about that. Maybe I should have realized that I am the champion, and the company recognizes that. And honestly, as long as the company recognizes that, that's all that matters. So,
you know what? He almost had you there, even.
Yeah. I mean, I towards the end of this match, I mean, we were both spent, like absolutely spent.
Oh, listen, this is a match. Again, you don't have this often in careers. I mean, there are very few people that do Ironman matches. I mean, we know famously WrestleMania 12 was 60 minutes, but 30 minutes in our circuit is like 60. And he's trying to put you away here one more time, but thankfully you reversed. You got the roll up. I
tried to do the same thing that he did to me earlier in the match, but it didn't work out. But as I hit the knee there, I continued on the assault. It's just I didn't have enough time.
You go back, you don't go follow up. That's the knee.
Yeah.
That knee is just a clear problem right now. You're not able to follow through and
now here's the adrenaline kicking in. The adrenaline saying that no matter what your knee is like, you got to get through the match, and that's exactly what I was trying to do here. I was in a great deal of pain. Yeah, no, it's he's a valiant competitor. He's difficult to put down.
But you're giving him time. You're giving him that time to be able to follow up, and now you're obviously trying to. I believe this is it. Yes. 8, 7, 6.
Yeah,
but you're clutching that knee. 1, 2. Wait a minute. Wait.
I think that was 3. That's my. Let's
go back to the tape here in Sportzwire. Okay. I don't want to go race. Go back to the tape.
Let's review.
We're going back to the tape. We're going to play this here, and I want to see what people think here in the audience. What do you think?
Okay.
All right, we're going to come to it. It's the magic of technology, and we're waiting. We're going to get close to it, right? Toward the end, here we are. And we're going to see here. Now, again, I don't know if you guys have a board of directors or a management here, but
we do. They tend to stay in the shadows, but yeah, we answer to people.
5, 4, 1, 2, 3. Wait, is that 3?
I think so. The company doesn't think so. I filed a complaint with management. They reviewed it and they said that it was a tie. They were not going to change the results, and that there was nothing they could do about it.
I don't know. Now, again, I know Tsunami's here. I'll let Tsunami hold off for a minute, but you are champion. Now, you did win the match, technically. You retain the title. It's a draw, but you retain as champion.
Yep.
But now, I don't know the rules. Now, help me understand this. Now, if the clock ends 0, it ends at 0, but the referee or whoever's counting goes 3, is that where a winner is officially crowned, or is that's where?
So it depends on what came first. If you believe that the buzzer hit first and that the time limit ended first, that it was a draw. And if I felt that way, I would say yes, it was absolutely a draw.
But BCW feels differently. They feel that
it was at the exact same time, to the point where like they can't clearly give me the victory. So instead they give both men the draw, which is unfortunate the way it happened. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think? What do you think should have been the outcome here?
We're watching it one more time too. I mean, it's very close. I mean, I got to be honest. What I just saw there one more time. I mean, it's very close. I mean, I'm not in management, but looking at that is very close in terms of, did you get that 3 before time expired? I mean, it's very close. I mean, in baseball, tie goes to the runner. We don't have that same rule in wrestling. If it's a 3, it's 0. I mean, that's why I asked, because usually the interpretation is if you get the 3 while time expires, the match is over.
And at this point, I'm not exactly proud of how I handled it. I should have been a little bit more combat at the end of the match. What I was mad about is the commentator tried to hand NJN what he claims to be his title before he handed me my title, and I thought that was a disgrace. I thought that was
NJN didn't win the match. I mean, I think that there's no claim. Nobody can tell me that NJN won. It's a matter of, did you get that 3?
Was it a draw or was it a win for me? That's the question.
But to me, regardless, you retain the championship.
You're sure it's the same result, it's the same effect either way. But I think it's the principle of it. It is. I really did want on the record books to clearly be stated as the winner, and I want to have the best reign I possibly can. And unfortunately, I feel like that we were robbed of that. And I think even if it was a draw, I would have loved the opportunity to go out there and decisively prove it in overtime in a sudden death. But we didn't get that. So what happens now is here's what I think happened.
Okay.
I think management politically manipulated the ending of the match. Maybe not manipulated, but they took advantage of the ambiguity in the ending. You didn't know if it was a draw. You didn't know if it was 1, 2, 3.
I agree with that.
I think they took advantage of it because I think what they want for business reasons, I think they wanted NJN versus Maxel Reeves 3. I think that's
it's a match that certainly carried Scare Slam 3 to well over 1,000 views. The people seem to be continuing to flock and watch.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like, you look at the numbers, you can't deny it that people do want to see it, and that it gets viewership, and from a business perspective, it's great. But from a competitive perspective, I think NJN needs to earn the match. And this is where, as BCW champion, I'm going to use the leverage I have to say that you will not, NJN, I can say it right here on Sportswire, he will not receive another match unless he earns it by.
But does he, though, deserve that because of the fact he was a draw? So theoretically, his point might be that he didn't lose, so he should therefore get another crack at this.
So here's what I think his plan is. I think his grand plan right now is to take out any opposition for the BCW championship.
Well, Tsunami, who's here in the chat, is out.
Yeah.
Gallows is dead. I mean, so realistically speaking,
and I think we're going to continue to see anybody who stakes a claim for the title. I think we're going to see them attacked, and I think it's not going to stop until he gets his match. And I think that what the company needs to do is they need to put the management. They need to put on their big boy pants, and they need to say, if you do this again, or if you interfere with someone who's staking claim for the title without having a match with them, if it was me booking the show, if it was me making all the decisions behind the scenes, I would put Tsunami in a match against NJN, and they would wrestle it out, and whoever won that match, I would say, okay.
Would you consider suspending NJN?
For his recent actions? Yeah, I would. I would say if that's the route they wanted to go, I think that's totally fair that NJN should be suspended, because what they did is they robbed BCW of one of their talents, and for that reason, I think the company should reprimand him. But because for whatever reason, the company doesn't. I don't know what it is. They never want to reprimand or anger NJN. They always want to keep him happy for whatever reason.
He was champion for 800 plus days.
True, he was champion, but he's no longer the champion. And I think
he was the meal ticket for the company.
He was for a long time. That's true, but in my opinion, not today, not anymore. Does that man deserve any of that leverage? With the championship, there comes responsibility, there comes leverage, there comes a lot of things that you don't have access to when you're not BCW champion, when you're not world champion representing the company. I don't think he properly represented the company. I don't think he did anything with that BCW title to advance the company. I don't. I think he's a tremendous performer, and the success BCW had because of him was a byproduct of his of the caliber of talent that he was.
Well, talent around you, it takes two to tango.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, but Tsunami is here, and I want to get to Tsunami. And he wants to say the whole company is a conspiracy against me. And he would like to say that also, it's Zilla. That's the wrong person. But Zilla, we know Zilla states. But he says everything.
Tsunami has a lot of time to sit at home now, so this is what he's going to do. He's going to do a lot more of the food stuff. But I mean,
we're getting ready to the end. So I know you got a lot to do with management calls. You got to deal with the press. I know you got to get ready for things coming up here this Saturday. But at the end of the day, though, you feel that you are done with NJN. You're done with him.
If he's able to participate in a contendership match and he earns another opportunity, I will happily show up and I will happily give him his match. If he doesn't, if he continues to just attack people, needlessly attack other performers, I'm going to be there like I was with Tsunami. I'm not going to allow it to continue. I'm going to be more diligent.
Are you concerned that NJN could come after you next, though?
Yeah, that's where he's headed. He will destroy all.
What your knee went through. We know you had injuries the first time you came on here. You've been struggling with injuries.
Yes, and what he's going to do is he's going to continue to take out all the opposition, and then he's going to say, "Give me a match. I'm the only one left." And then if I don't comply, then yes, I'm going to be next on his target, and I'm ready. I'm absolutely 100% ready for a fight. If he wants to show up to my house right now, we can run it back. But
I don't know if I necessarily encourage it, because I did have a wrestler months ago. He got in his own home. Just want to put that out there.
What happened in his own home? You cut out.
So I had a wrestler on here 7 months ago, a psychotic freak. We were doing an interview. And he was talking about a certain wrestler and his company in North Dakota, Legendary Backyard Wrestling.
Okay.
And he was actually senselessly attacked, just brutally, just literally, he was just talking, and all of a sudden, on Sportswire Live. Yep, on Sportswire.
Well, I don't know if NJ
and Sean Jovi actually also got attacked. Actually, also about a month.
And a half. I did see that one. Sean
Jovi got attacked by Mr. Brightside, who was an interesting guy to
be. He was putting a sleeper right behind.
Yes, yeah. He put him out, and it was like, so. I would say be careful if you want NJN to show up to your home on this platform. This already happened a few times. I'm just saying.
Well, he could show up to my home if he wants. If he wants to come in this very room that I sit in and he wants to fight it out with me, that's fine. If that's his gripe, if he just wants to have a fight with me, if he feels like we have unsettled business, I agree. We do. But as it relates to this BCW champion, I have an honor and I have a prestige to uphold, and giving him a title match would be incorrect. That would be, to me, giving him a title match without him earning it. It would be validating his actions. It would be validating what he did to Tsunami. It would be validating all the reprehensible stuff that he's done. To me, if he wants a title match, even though he's a horrible person, he can earn it. But he has to earn it. This isn't a charity. I'm not running a charity here. I'm not. I'm running a championship. So if you're gonna have to earn, he's gonna have to earn his way just like anybody else would. I gave him the one match without him having to earn it, because he earned it with 818 days.
Yep.
Now, that's done. That's done. He failed in that rematch. It's done. He needs to earn it again.
Let me ask you this, because Tsunami's here, and I want to get to final thoughts in a few minutes. But if you had final words for Tsunami, since I see him here,
well, of course he's here. Of course he's here. You know, I'm here, and you know he has this horrible obsession with me and this title I have on my shoulder. You know, he has Maxel Reeves syndrome, is what I would say.
Like PTSD, huh?
Oh yeah, no, as you see there, if only other BCW wrestlers could acknowledge the founder like he does. The guy is just the ego is disgusting. And on him and NJN, both of them, they both belong in the hospital. They both belong in a boot, if you ask me. But no. So Tsunami, if you manage to make a speedy recovery and you manage to come back, and I'm still going to be your champion. I promise you that. No matter when you come back, you can come back in 10 years. I'll still be your BCW champion. When you come back and you earn your match, 100%, you will get an opportunity for this title, and we're going to have a war. But right now, NJN, he will stop at nothing to ensure that he's the only contender in BCW for the title. And to my message to everyone else in the locker room in BCWs, if you want a match for this BCW championship, go out there, make your claim, but also watch your back, because NJN will be right there waiting for you.
Well, that's some strong words there. And I have to ask you, and Tsunami says he's already earned it, though. He says he's already earned it.
He's not earned it. He hasn't earned jack. No. I'm tired of this. No, he thinks that he deserves all of this because he has this. He's so delusional. It's insane. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to compensate for the lack of success he's had in his career over the past 2 years. He was BCW champion before.
Yes.
That was 2 years ago. Now, since 2 years, no hardcore championship wins, no other accolades of any kind to speak of. He has wins here and there, but guess what? I think he's trying to cope. He's trying to cope.
He's wrestled more matches than you recently. That's his line.
But because he hasn't had more success, because he hasn't had the success he wanted to have in BCW, he takes responsibility for the company's success. That's how I view it. Because of his lack of personal success, he needs to take the professional success of BCW as his own.
Well, we'll have to find out what his future is. We know for the short term what it is. But
a lot of sitting on the couch.
Well, you know what? He's here right now, probably sitting. But let me ask you though this. What's the future then for Maxel Reeves?
The future for Maxel Reeves is the same. It's the same as you see now. It's the same as you've seen these past 2 interviews. Me coming on these interviews, me going out there and putting on the best show I possibly can, defending this title, trying to have the best match I possibly can, cementing my legacy as one of the premier talents in professional wrestling. And that's the future for Maxel Reeves. Regardless of if NJN's able to earn his opportunity and we run it back a third time, I'm going to win. If Tsunami comes back and challenges for the title, I'm going to win. Tommy Good wants to challenge for the title again, I'm going to win. No matter who it is, no matter if it's Christian Sin, if it's anybody else, anybody outside of BCW who comes in here and challenges me for the title, I'm going to win. That is not changing. I didn't come all this way to lose this title. I promise you that.
Would you have final words for NJN?
Absolutely. I do have final words for NJN. NJN, if you want, you can show up. You can wrestle a match. You can earn your contendership. You can arrange that with management. I don't know who your opponent's going to be. Probably anybody, because anybody would love an opportunity at the BCW title. So you can go find yourself a match. You can earn your opportunity at my BCW championship. But until you earn that opportunity, stay away from me. Keep my name out your mouth. And that's all I have to say to NJN.
Well, we'll certainly find out, and I want everybody here to follow BCW. And Zilla would like to say NJN should be suspended for his actions. I brought that question up. I also here want to say that NJN did not kick out. Yes, we knew that's a matter of the timing. Also, Zilla does wish Caden Gallows a speedy recovery.
Well, I don't think he can recover from what he suffered.
I don't know if death you can recover from recovery. Someone would like to say Aaron Blaze is next. Aaron Blaze.
I don't know who Ariane Blaze is. I know an Aaron Blaze. I don't know Ariane Blaze. So
I don't know an Ari. I was like who's Ariane Blaze? But
I don't know. Does Aaron Blaze have a secret brother? I don't know. I don't know who Ariane is.
I don't know. I mean, it's Ariane Blaze. But okay, well, thank you for that comment. I don't know Ariane Blaze, but we'll move on here. And obviously, again, BCW 115 will be out this weekend. We have Christmas Chaos coming up, and that's in December. Obviously, Christmas time. Ho, ho, ho. Also, November, you'll see a slew of BCW shows. I want everybody to follow BCW. They're closing in on 1,000 subscribers.
What I do want to announce real quick is just this month in November, like I said, I'm going to keep my promise of being a fighting champion, that I will at least continue to have one defense per month, hopefully more. Depending on what we can arrange. I can confirm that I will defend this title in November. I don't know who the opponent's going to be yet. I guess you're going to have to find out this week on BCW.
I'm going to be watching. Everybody else should be. And you could do that at Ben Salem Championship Wrestling. So please make sure you follow. I'm going to put the YouTube up here while we get your closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, I'm going to most certainly pass the baton to you. And fire away, good sir.
All right. So, closing remarks is if you're not aware already, BCW, in my opinion, it's the hottest thing in backyard wrestling. Come check us out. We have new videos every single week, Saturdays, 6 p.m. We just did Scare Slam, which is an absolutely incredible show.
1,000+ views, red hot, the shorts. We have 9,000 views, 10,000 views on Instagram, 3,000, 4,000. I mean, you guys are just killing it right now.
Yeah, we are. And so my message to anybody watching now is if you want to jump aboard, now is a great time to. We have great stuff planned in the future. So as far as company wise, that's what I have to say. For my career personally, what I will say is this. I'll say the same. I'm going to echo my earlier sentiments. The BCW championship is going to remain on my shoulder no matter what. That's the one absolute. I don't know who's going to challenge for it. I don't know if anybody outside of BCW comes in and challenges for it. I don't know if NJN is going to be next, if he's going to earn his contendership like I'm telling him to right now. I don't know if Tsunami will be back anytime soon. I don't know. I don't know who's going to challenge for my title. But what I can promise is that there is going to continue to be challengers, and that there is going to continue to be successful title defenses for Maxel Reeves.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be watching. So should you. I know that the champion will be here next month back on Sportswire Radio. We'll recap what has happened here this past month. We'll get you ready for Christmas Chaos. We'll have a lot to talk about. BCW shows are certainly ahead. 115 airs this coming Saturday, 6 o'clock Eastern time. If you want to watch the historic Scare Slam 3, well, you'll see matches like the one we just spoke about, the 30-minute Iron Man match between NJN and Maxel Reeves for that BCW championship. You can watch it here, plus all your favorites are going to be in action. So please support our friends at BCW. They are definitely one of the hottest companies in BYW around. Some say Maxel Reeves is the future. I say the future has arrived. He is the present. He is the present along with some other yarders like the likes of Judas, the Evil Angel, Nolan Money McDermott. They all have same things in common. They're young. They're energetic. They've got charisma, the passion. That's why they are the present, and that's why they are the very best. And we are very excited to always have the very best on Sportswire Radio, the only platform where all wrestling matters. And let's get BCW to 1,000 subscribers. I know we're going to get there. Let's do it by the end of this year. That's his Instagram. Go follow. My friend, definitely a lot to talk about here. Not the same mood you were in the first two appearances. I could understand why. We'll see what happens here over the next month. We'll have a lot to talk about on the road to Christmas Chaos. And we'll see JN. We'll see what happens with Tommy Good and Sin, and who knows about Tsunami. And apparently Caden Gallows has gotten his last rites, and you're still on top. And for that, I'll still say technically congratulations. And we'll see what the future brings, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. I can't wait to be back here next month. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to talk about. Is that true?
Oh, I know we always do. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, the reigning defending BCW champion, the master of brutality, Maxel Reeves. Maxel Reeves spoke a lot about what happened in that 30-minute Iron Man match between himself and NJN, where we had no clear winner. We also talked about what happened at the 114 show last week with Tsunami and NJN injuring him. And we talked about a slew of other things in the world of BCW, plus much, much more. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce here. Figuratively and literally, we're all wrestling matters. And if you're here, I'll be back at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time with Jake Dvorak. So Be there or be square on Sportswire Radio, and I'll see everybody here in a little while. And please follow our friends over at BCW, and I'll see everybody here in a little bit. Where all wrestling matters on Sportswire Radio.